I am going to see if it will allow me to do this. If not, we will try another time. The internet has been very buggy lately. Oh, it's happening. Awesome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chaos Mind, where we talk about all the deep and meaningful stuff that goes on inside of the grey matter that is in between our ears. Yes, I was supposed to have Miss April Gaines on with me tonight, but both of our internets is not cooperating, so we're going to do that one again tomorrow, where I'm going to get her input on this very difficult topic to tackle, which is religion, spirituality, and mental health. And what we were going to be talking about before we were so rudely interrupted by our internet, is the effects that she sees and the correlation that she sees between people that have substance abuse issues, whatever the substance abuse is, and people's connection to spirituality or faith. Now, I've done a lot of research over the last many years. I've done a lot of research over the last many years, but particularly in the last 12 months while I've been doing this psychology and this counseling diploma, getting up to my certification. And one of them is that there is this intrinsic connection between people that have a faith or a spirituality, a religion or a spirituality, and their ability to help manage their mental health, so to be able to unpack their mental health, the emotional and the psychological that's going on for them when it comes to abuse, trauma, and then substance abuse as well. Now, I put a link in the description of this video for you guys to go and check out. This is one of those sources that I was reading. And it's been a while since I actually went and had a look at this article. And you know what? I went and pulled it up because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I had that article that I was reading before, like a long time ago. And I wanted to actually talk about this a little bit more. So read the article, let me know what you think, and then if you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So one of these articles is that it talks about spirituality and faith and religion when it comes to mental health. And it's important to note that in the 19th century, most of the mental health institutions were run by the church. Religious institutions was responsible for the care of the mentally ill, and a major change occurred when the Tsar got one, and his pupil Freud associated with religion with hysteria and neurosis. And this created the divide between religion and mental health care, which has continued until recently, about 20 or 30 years ago. Psychiatry has a long tradition in Western medicine of dismissing and attacking religious experiences. Religion is often seen by mental health professionals as irrational, outdated, and dependency forming, and has been viewed to result in emotional instability. Now, I don't know where you sit in your religion. I don't know what your faith is. I don't know what your beliefs are. But as someone that comes from a very diverse religious and spiritual background, like I chose Christianity when I was 5 years old, and I have made every choice of my spiritual path since then, regardless of the fact that, my parents are Church of England, right? So Christian by another name. And there was always this aspect to it growing up, particularly going to a Catholic school. Yes, I was a good Catholic schoolgirl once in my lifetime. I went to church 3 times a week with the rest of my school. I did confession twice a week with my school. And they put this fear of God into me, is the fact that if you did anything, if you defied the priest, if you defied your parents, if you defied the teachers, if you did anything other than what you were told, you were going to hell. And if you tried to do anything that you can't drink, you're going to hell. Don't do drugs, you're going to hell. You can't go and experiment with things, you're going to hell. Don't have sex before marriage, you're going to hell. All of these things put this you're going to hell, that why would I go out and try anything new? Why would I steer away from the normal? Or not even steer away from the normal, because, as teenagers, as you grow up, you're going to go and want to experience all of that things. You're going to want to go and try and do party drugs recreationally with your friends. You're going to want to I'm going to be the one that says you're going to want to have sex with your boyfriend when you're 15, 16 years old because you profess to love him. And all of this stuff. You're going to want to drink when you're underage. You're going to be at a party. There's going to be alcohol around. And yes, I know that there's a strength of will and it all comes down to peer pressure. But you're going to want to do it as well because you want to fit in. You want to be part of the crowd. You want to be part of your peers. So if you're not doing all this stuff that your peers are doing, then you're the weirdo. You're the one that's out of it. Oh, you're not cool. You don't fit in. And plays a huge part on mental health. Personally, I believe that plays a huge part on mental health. And a lot of people out there will say the same thing. They didn't fit in when they were at school. Now we are the weirdos that sit here and do these sorts of videos talking about all these deep and meaningful issues and bringing them to the light because we experience them, right? In 1980, Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotional therapy, wrote in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, there is an irrefutable relationship between religion, emotional, and mental illness. According to the Canadian psychiatrist Wendell Waters, Christian doctrine and liturgy has been shown to discourage the development of adult coping behaviors and the human-to-human relationship skills that enable people to cope in an adaptive way with the anxiety caused by stress. And it is most extreme within all of religious experience, which has been labeled as psychosis. So they're talking about the people that actually go right down the fanatical line of religious experiences. So they're the ones that actually create their own mental psychosis because God is actually speaking to them, and they're so boxed into this religious thing and this religious mindset and fundamentalism that they don't know how to express their fears and their anguish and their sadness and their pain in any other way other than to go to confession and God is telling me to do something in one way or another, right? For many of us, and I've found this as I'm stepping into the role as a counselor more and more, I find that a lot of people that are spiritualists or define themselves as spiritualists or atheists for that matter, funnily enough, atheists have some form of faith, all right? I know people that have put their faith in science. I have people that say, you know what, there is a higher being that is out there. I don't give it a name. I don't call it destiny. I don't call it fate, but there is something else that is out there, that is helping and has been there and has always been there and will always be there. And am I going to heaven? No. Do I believe in reincarnation? I don't know. I'm still sitting on the fence with that one, right? I have these conversations with people as well. And what I've found is that people that have the most anxiety, people that suffer the most with depression, people that have the most mental health problems actually come from extreme religious backgrounds. And that's because we've had the fear of God put in us of doing anything other than what we are told. You don't disagree with your parents. You don't hurt anyone. You don't drink. You don't smoke. You don't do drugs. You don't do any of this, which is a normal part of growing up and learning to cope with things. So when this anxiety gets too much and when this depression gets too much, they lash out in a way that is completely new, and it goes completely against that religious teaching and that fundamentalism, because it's the only thing they can do to get control of their lives again. And they do. It's the only thing that they can do to take control of their lives, which is where you get the rebellion. You get the rebellious teenagers. You get teenagers. I'm going to go and smoke weed with my friends on the weekend or after school over here, or I'm going to start smoking behind the gym at high school just for something that I can have complete control of. And then that's the only thing that they learn to manage the stress. Because, and I'll be the first to admit it, going through Catholic schools and Christian schools, if you have a problem, you go to confession. And the church is going to say 10 Hail Marys and 5 Our Fathers, and then everything is going to magically disappear. Meanwhile, we're not taught to actually unpack the emotions that's happening inside of us and the conversations, what I know as the ducks now, that are happening inside of our head on a daily basis. We aren't taught to confront our darkness. We aren't taught to deal with these emotions, like actually unpack them and see where the root cause is coming from. You push them down. You don't ask questions. You just get on with it. You suck it up, buttercup, and you harden up and you move on. And this is why mental health became a huge thing in the last 20 years, right? This is why mental health has become such a huge thing, because there's been this acceptable normal for a really long time where you suck it up, you get over it, you harden up, and you move on. Right? Emotion is it kind of steps into the wishy-washy. It kind of steps into the soft, and particularly for men, right? Particularly for men, men's mental health is something that just was not talked about for decades, absolute decades, and we've lost so many men, women too, but we've lost so many men, particularly our returning military, because they have not been told how to deal with these emotions, with these thoughts, with this perception of reality that is given to them when they come back from war zones. Right? We've lost a lot of veterans because of that, because we don't talk about this mental health thing. It's just not something that we do, right? But it's changing. And what we're finding in the current day and age is that people that come from organized religions, so we're talking Islam, Christianity, even Buddhism and Hindu, right? People that come from these organized religions, whether they're fundamental or not, actually have the most mental health issues, because they have not found another way to actually cope with everything that's going on up here, all the noise that happens up here, They have not learned any other way other than go to confession, or you do your meditation, or you do this, you do that, you all of the normal stuff that you hear from organized religions. Right? Islam, it's praying X number of times a day. Pray and you'll get a message from Allah that He's going to magically solve all your problems with a message. You go to confession, you say Hail Marys and Our Fathers and all of, and suddenly everything's going to magically disappear. No offense to Christians, all right? Everyone is entitled to their own path, all right? I come from a Christian background, so this is something that we're taught to. This is something we were taught to do as well. And when we actually said, no, look, I'm having a real problem. Oh, no, that's okay. Just go and talk to the priest and he'll absolve you of all of your sins and your worries. And it's like, I need someone to talk to. And the first time I actually sat down with a psychiatrist, with a psychologist, not with a psychiatrist, she's like, you need to talk about this and you need to fix this. And why have you not dealt with this before? And I'm like, because I was told not to. Like, you just suck it up and get over it. She's like, no, you don't just suck it up and you have to talk about these things. You have to get it out of your head. Otherwise, that's where the anxiety and the depression comes from. You're constantly fearing for what your life could look like in the future if you go against any of the religious rules, or you're constantly sitting there regretting the decisions that you made from the past because, oh, well, I should have been a better person. I should have made a better choice. And, oh, I wish someone could forgive me. And, oh, I'm going to hell because I did all of this stuff. And there has to be a middle ground. On the flip side of that, the organized religion can actually be incredibly beneficial for people because of that structure, because of that rigidity. But also on the flip side of that, you need to have people that are open to having these conversations, not just going to a priest and fixing everything. There's a reason there are counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists out there, and not just because the psychiatrists and what have you can prescribe medication to kind of help you deal with it. No. It's because they're there, they're experts, they're trained to actually talk you through whatever you're dealing with, whether it's emotional or purely psychological. They're there to help you talk through it, and they actually go back and they find the root cause. And it's usually completely something that people don't even realize that has happened in the past. They've pushed it down, they haven't thought about it, they haven't brought it up in decades, in days, weeks, months, decades sometimes. And suddenly they're confronted with, go, you know what? I really was feeling that back then. Oh my God, how did you pinpoint it to such a low, precise thing? And they go, we see the signs, we see it, right? And it's like, oh my God, what's my family going to do? I don't believe in God anymore, but where's my spirituality? And then that causes a whole bunch of other issues, right? And I know that sometimes religion is a generational thing. Like, it comes down through your family. If your parents were Christian, 9 times out of 10, you are going to be Christian. If you're Buddhist or you're Muslim or you're Hindu, then 9 times out of 10, usually the parents follow, the children follow the parents' lead because it's been taught to them by their grandparents and their great-great, and we go back down the line. And it just becomes, this is our family's faith. This is the way we are, right? And then you get people that step outside that family faith. They step outside and they want to do something on their own that's a little bit over here to the right or over here to the left, and you get hit with all the backlash. It's heresy, and you're an infidel, or you're this, you're that, and that causes all sorts of havoc as well. And also, if it's not one of the traditional, recognized, normal things that your peers around you, particularly growing up as a teenager, right? As you grow up and you're a teenager, you want to fit in. If it's something that's outside of the normal for teenage understanding, you get ridiculed on that front as well. So why would you try and find something else? Okay, I don't really fit in with my family here. It's kind of not really for me, but I'm not going to go off and try something of my own because I'm going to get slapped down for it, and I'm going to get called this, that, and the other name under the sun, and all of this is going to happen, so what's the point? The point is that you have to confront these darknesses. That's the reason that we have so many mental health problems today, is because we don't confront our darkness. We don't want to face these fears. We don't want to face the negative emotions. It's easier just to push them down, don't ask questions. It's in a kid's movie. All right, if you've ever watched Bigfoot, if you have kids and you've ever watched Smallfoot, it's in Smallfoot. What do we do with questions? We push them down. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Push it down. Push down. You just push it down inside until it goes away. Problem is, those questions kind of don't go away. And those are the questions that become the darkness, and darkness is what we need to address. Which is why we dig into some of the really deep and meaningful stuff when it comes to the chaos mind, because everyone needs to have these conversations, whether it's a small conversation or a big conversation, whichever side of the discussion you sit on, that's totally up to you, right? But everyone is allowed their point of view, and everyone can see spirituality, faith, religion as a savior or as a complete detriment to their mental health. And it's completely up to you how you go about that, right? It's okay to make a change. You are not the same person that you were 5 minutes ago. And you're not always going to be judged and ridiculed, and you're not always going to hell for a mistake that you made because you didn't have the knowledge and the understanding, the expertise from having been through certain situations to make a better choice. You're always learning, you're always growing, you're always changing, and that just comes from growing up. That just comes from evolving as an adult. When you start to have ethics and morals and beliefs and ideas of your own, and you start want to drift away from your family. And I know people that are stuck in generational habits and generational conditioning. And it's a hard thing to break. It is a hard thing to break. But it's okay. But having that acceptance that you are not the same person that you were 6 years ago, 6 months ago, 5 minutes ago, if you've made a change, a conscious decision to make a change in your life, then that is yours alone. You are aligning who you want to be with what is happening. And some people don't start doing it until they're 40 or 50 or 60, and then they have these radical turnarounds. They do. I've seen it happen. But at the same time, there's also people out there that recognize very early on that whatever is out there, right, all the different organized religions, and there's 4,300 living religions in this world, just say it. So there is a path for everyone. There is something out there for everyone that truly connects with who they are on a soul, what they think, what they feel, what they believe, and where they want to put their faith. And some people will say that it's completely detrimental to mental health, completely detrimental. And then there are others that say that it's intrinsic, right? Your mental health and your faith go like this. And if there's something going on with your spirituality or your religion, then your mental health is going to suffer. So you have to constantly work on yourself, what you think, what you believe, what are your morals and your ethics. When you do say, be, or think anything, you have to make sure that it's in line with what the intentions that you want for yourself, for your family. And if that means that, okay, I'm an omnist, right? I find truths from many different paths. The technical term is an omnist, right? That all religions have a place, that all faith has a place, whatever your faith is, it has a place and a path, but that we are all eventually going to the same location. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place, right? Many paths, one destination. And that is also a beautiful thing because it allows for multiple viewpoints. It allows for people to have this idea and discover this truth, and well, we're going to implement this truth that I discovered here into my life in this way, which could be completely nothing like anyone else has seen with inside their own faith or religion. And that also has mental health issues attached to it because you get ridiculed. That's not the done way. How many times have you heard that? When you found a way to praise God, or found a way to praise Allah, or found a way to meditate, or a way that you actually see Buddha, or your spirit guides, or your angels, and you've told somebody and they're like, that's not normal. How many times have you heard that? Right? It's a big problem. And I know also that a lot of people that are having mental health issues, that are having substance abuse issues, that are going through trauma, turn to faith or religion, whether it's organized or a complete spiritual freedom. They turn to it to try and answer these problems as, why did this happen to me? And now we're talking about existential crisis. There's a lot in this topic, right? There's a lot in this topic, which is why why we're focusing on it in the Chaos Mind right now. And if you've noticed, all the Chaos Minds that have happened lately, over the last couple of weeks, have been focused on this mental health and spirituality or religion. It's because it's a big issue, right? It's a really big issue. And if you look around what's happening in the world today, there is the New Age movement, okay, and then you have the fundamental religions over here, and they're at each other's throats most of the time. There's lots of us that have found a way to coexist, and there's lots of us that, hey, you may have a completely different religious view or spiritual view to me, but we both agree that certain topics and certain issues are completely wrong. And we're both going to speak up and use our voice in a way that is, we're owning who we are and what we believe, but that's not the issue. We're speaking up against what we believe to be fundamentally right on an ethical and moral level. That can happen as well. You can have people from all walks of life, all beliefs and faiths and religions and spiritualities and ideas that can believe on common core issues and stand up and fight against common core issues. Because morally, it's wrong. It is wrong. But then that's a whole nother issue for another day. I don't get political here. I don't get political. All right? I don't get political. I don't have a vote in anything, in anywhere, any country. I don't have a vote. I don't have a say, so I don't get political. Okay? So, that is it from the Chaos Mind right now, ladies and gentlemen. Religion, spirituality, and mental health. Go and check out the link that I put in there. It's an amazing article. It's actually written down in Psychiatrist Times. All right, psychiatrictimes.com if you want to go and have a look at it. It's amazing ones from 2010. It's written by Simon Dean. He is a PhD psych. Awesome, awesome insight, amazing ideas, and you know what? At the end of the day, if you take away one thing from reading that, or even from listening to this video, then my job is done. All right? We also discussed mental health and spirituality in Leave the Dogma, Religion Screwed the Faith Pooch. Yes, I know, don't. Most of the time people laugh, which was the intended purpose. All right? Okay, so if you haven't gone out and checked out Leave the Dogma, again, the links is in the description of this video. Go and check it out. Grab yourself a copy. It's in digital and paperback. That is it for me right now. I am getting out of here. I'm going to go put my children to bed because it is bedtime for them. I will be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, with another Chaos Mind. Until then, you have an amazing night, and we'll see you all again later.